You broke my heart, I know that I'll feel better tomorrow. Emotionally healing in the days that will follow. Moving on will hurt, but it's a pill I will swallow. It's you, but I know that...
Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Today's guest is an indie pop singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer based in Los Angeles, California. He released a new song called Okay on My Own on Valentines Day, and he worked with Ritt Momney on another song called Tip of the Iceberg. Before we start this show, please make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And on that note, please welcome Comfort Club. Thank you, Colin Tracy from Comfort Club, for joining me for an episode of On That Note. I just want to congratulate you on your newest single, Okay on My Own, which was released on Valentine's Day. It's such an awesome bedroom pop banger. How does it feel to have it out?
Well, thank you first for the introduction. It's awesome to have it out. It's really only been I think 2 weeks since it came out, and it feels like it's been 5 months or something. Everything's just kind of been a whirlwind since it came out. So I'm really stoked. It's reaching more people than I have in the past. And that's kind of the goal in my career right now, is to just be reaching more people and kind of getting my name out there. So this song is a good vehicle for that to be happening.
That's awesome. Why do you feel like maybe this song seems to reach more people than your previous ones? Do you feel like you had some different approach either to the recording and writing process, or even the post release process, marketing and social media and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to discredit the song at all, but I think I want to chalk most of it up to just timing. And I mean, I've been at it for 2 years pretty seriously at this point. So I was kind of due to hit some sort of tipping point. And the song came out on a Sunday, and I think the following Wednesday or something, it got added to an editorial on Spotify, which was the first time that ever happened for me. And then that kind of trickled into a couple more editorials. And then I had this random TikTok go semi-viral too, and I think that helped push. I think what it is just getting as much momentum to Spotify as possible, and then they kind of acknowledge your existence. So I think it was partially luck, and then I think the song is enough of a message and is enough of a groove that people were able to get behind it. And it wasn't necessarily a bad song that blew up. It was a good song that blew up, in my opinion. So a combination of timing and just putting my best foot forward in all the music that I'm releasing.
That's a great answer. I do think the song itself is so simple yet perfectly written, and it's off of first listen, you understand what you're listening to here, and
that's kind of
everything
that's
has
what I'm
its
always
right
going
place.
For. Thank you. Yeah, I try to just make music as cohesive as possible, and the core of my songwriting is lyricism. So I think the music always supports the lyricism from the approach that I have. So I think once I have the lyrics right and they tell a complete story, then the music just kind of supplements that story. And I think in this situation, I paired the music and the lyrics together nicely. And I think that's kind of what gives the lyrics kind of more footing and made the song more of a success, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's very playful, even though you're kind of talking about a relatively serious subject going through a breakup, but it has this feeling of what's the word? Everything's going to be okay despite how bad I feel right now,
Yeah. I think it is kind of it's more of a mature song for me, because I think in my past relationships and stuff, I don't think I've necessarily had that type of optimism. In the past when I'd have a breakup or something, I'm down about it. And in this situation, it was kind of just I've been here before. I know that the future is going to feel better. And I think that really helps when you're putting yourself out there emotionally. And in relationship settings, just knowing that your general baseline life is pretty good. And if you're going through a down it's probably going to come back up to like a pretty good spot most of the time.
Yeah, and I feel like it probably makes sense, in those instances when you're down to be just as grateful for the things in your life as when things are up, because you can't
Yeah.
control those things in life. There's going to be things that put you down, and there's going to be things that aren't in your control that bring you up. And if you can
Yeah.
just try to find the gratitude in both of those instances, you can, kind of calm the waves of life, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it's just about taking your baseline, I guess I keep referring to, and just bringing that up every chance that you get, because then the highs are higher and the lows aren't so low. And then just trying to stay level-headed too, not letting the highs get too high and the lows get too low. But yeah, I think I'm starting to figure that out now that I've been at life for a little while now.
What have been some of the things that you do if you're feeling low or sad or depressed and you still want to be creative? I know that for me personally, and maybe for other people, it's a lot harder to get into that creative mode, because some people also go down that kind of what is the word, tragic artist, bleeding
Hmm.
heart, and like that's where they really thrive. But for
Yeah.
other people, it's really hard to get into a creative mode when you are in that sort of depressed state. Have you been in that situation? And if so, how did you get yourself out of it?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been in like a prolonged depressed state. It's usually like a week at most, and I think the best approach to that is just not letting it get to you and just kind of understanding what it is. And I mean, like, there's times where I've been down and I don't try to force creativity. I just honestly like sleep it off or something. That's always the advice I give to people, which I know it's not clinical advice and it doesn't work when you're like depressed for a long state of time or you're trying to be productive. But I think that you can't force yourself to be productive all the time. And I've kind of learned that too. Like, I went through a period where I was beating myself up for not writing as often, and then I realized that my process is to write when an idea comes to me. So for me to be in the studio every day trying to write a song it just doesn't work, and it makes me go crazy. So I just kind of try to fill my time with other things. And I mean, I guess we haven't really touched on this yet, but I'm fully independent, so I do everything on my own. And if I'm not writing a song, there's infinitely many things that I can be doing to like further my career. So I don't try to harp on the creative side of things, because I feel like that comes when you're kind of not expecting it. So yeah, I don't know if I really answered the question, but
No, you definitely did. And I'm glad you brought up the fact that you are fully independent. And I was
mm,
reading that, your records that you've done, you have recorded all in your
yeah,
bedroom. You're doing the recording, the writing, mixing, mastering. And one, of course, that is just impressive to wear so many hats. But I had a question for you. What do you feel like are some of the challenges and then some of the rewards of recording all of your music in like a bedroom studio?
yeah. I mean, personally, I think I guess there's challenges just of being one person and you can't be doing as much as you want to do. Like lately, I've been kind of thinking about like in terms of like media and stuff like that, and coming up with videos and all that stuff. Like, I feel like sometimes I don't put my best foot forward because I just don't have the time. Like, I'm working so hard on the song, and then I'm like, okay, I have this amount of time before the song comes out. Am I going to come up with the greatest music video? I don't know, but I don't think people necessarily expect that from me. So that's kind of like the downside of it, is just productivity. Like, you can only do so much as one person. But the pros are far outweigh that, because I mean, being able to do as many vocal takes as I want on a song and not feel like I'm burdening someone, or being able to record a guitar part to like the finest detail, in my opinion. Like, it's probably not the finest in everyone's opinion, but um, just being able to like work on my own schedule and work to my own level of when something's finished is really nice. And being able to do it all in my own bedroom, there's no like external anxiety coming from other people, because I mean, you probably know as well as anyone, like writing around other people or singing around other people is just, it's just not natural. Like, that's not That's not some. It's literally something that like makes us go into fight or flight, I think, in most cases. So being able to do that at home in the comfort of my own room is really nice.
Yeah, I totally agree that being in your own room and or just your own studio space affords you a lot of patience and anxiety that could be spent if you are in an environment that feels not quite welcoming. And
Yeah.
even if you are, like in my case, I've tried to work with friends multiple times who I also respect and respect their musical takes and everything. And it's just hard to get to that same mental space that you will get into if you're just by yourself at a piano or guitar or even
Yeah.
with a DAW open and trying to start something. What has been some of well okay, let me rephrase this. You say that it is hard for you to kind of interact maybe with other people while you're working on a song, but you did collaborate with Ritt Momney on your track
Yeah.
"Tip of the Iceberg." What was different about that situation?
Yeah, that felt pretty natural because I think he's so down to earth and so I don't want to use the word nonchalant, but like he almost comes from a place of like not caring, which is really cool. Like it kind of lets me because I've never been like a type A or anything like that to kind of take the reins and like run with something. And he's kind of more laid back than I am. So in that situation, and in that one, I kind of had most of the song done, and then I was bringing it to him to kind of add some finishing touches and like make some embellishments on it because I felt like I had run the full course with it and it wasn't quite there. And he was able to just add some additional stuff and help with the production of it because it's kind of a different lane than what I normally make. Um, but yeah, in that case, I wasn't necessarily like creating in front of him. It was more of like bringing him something and then working through it together. So it was kind of the onus was kind of on him to come up with ideas, and I wasn't necessarily creating in front of him. So it came a little more natural.
Yeah, did that feel like a bit of a relief to have someone else come in and
Yeah.
like someone who you trust to really
Yeah.
come in and, add some final touches?
Yeah, because so in that situation too, I'd been a fan of his for like 2+ years or something because I opened for him in like 2018 or something. So it was for me, it was literally like the coolest thing ever because it was like I got to just work on one of my songs with this guy that I've looked up to for like 2 years now. Um, and yeah, I think he's got such a good musical vocabulary that he was able to kind of step in and be like, well, here's the things that I can add to it. And then he was totally cool if like I didn't use any of it, which is really nice. That's just a cool approach to being like, he was basically like, I'm not married to any of these ideas, so if you don't want them, that's totally cool. And I trust him so much as a musician that I was like, he could do anything on this, and I know it's going to be good because he's proven himself so many times. So yeah, letting him kind of take the wheel for a little bit was awesome because it took the song to the finish line.
So how did you two get connected? Just the idea of you working with someone who you look up to is something as an idea for me that really resonates with me. Like one day I would like to be in that position that, you
Yeah.
were in with him, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. So how did you guys get connected, and what kind of advice would you give to someone who's trying to, get into that same collaboration space with somebody that they look up to?
Yeah, so I think a great two-part answer to that, and the first part is just being a fan of their music. I think that kind of, and I don't want to undersell that. Like I genuinely mean like being a fan of their music, being supportive, like helping push their projects when you don't necessarily have to, and there's no reward on the other side. Um, yeah, I've been a fan of his since like 2018, and every release or something, like I'm streaming it and I'm checking out his album, and when he's getting placements, I'm like sending a DM or something, being like congratulations. So I think it's about coming from a place of being a fan first, um, and then because then when
And
you're
in an
asking for a
honest
favor,
way, of course.
yeah, in an honest way, yeah, because I mean, I'll even speak for myself. Like sometimes I get DMs from people, and you can tell like they offer you one compliment, and then they're like, "Yeah, we should like get on a track together or something," and I'm like, "You just followed me like 25 minutes ago. There's no
Yeah.
way that you like genuinely and I've done that to people too, so I'm not trying to act like I'm better than that, because sometimes you just fire off a random DM and you're like, maybe this will work, and you cross your fingers, but it doesn't. Like, you have to genuinely be a fan of people and pick your shots. Like, you're not going to get to collaborate with everyone, so be a fan of someone for 2 or 3 years and then hit them up and get your career to a place where it sort of makes sense. Like, I'm not sure that collaboration even made sense for him, because at the time he was, getting hundreds of millions of streams on Put Your Records On. But I think he's kind of a one in a million too, that he doesn't necessarily buy into his own fame. So to him, I don't think he looked at it as like an I'm up here, you're down there, we're collaborating. I think he's a true pure artist that was just like, yeah, I like the song, so I'll work on it.
That's so cool. I'd love to hear kind words about, other people who are doing really well in the music scene right now, because it's just, you never know what you're gonna get, and it's awesome to hear that it worked so well for you guys.
Yeah.
And you did say something earlier about, just being a fan of their music, which is a cool segue, because I was reading an interview of yours with Remove Records, and you said they asked you about advice you would give to up and coming artists, and you said spend more time being a fan of music than a creator. And it's cool to hear you just talk about it in the way that we just did with like collaboration, but it kind of that resonated with me, because I've always felt like, they say the best writer is the best reader. And I think the same applies with music. I think the best listener will create the best stuff, even if they can't quite create it right now or fine tune it the way they know that they want it to sound right now. They know what like perfection is gonna look like, or like what it should be close to. And I felt like I've just learned so much from by mixing and songwriting and all that, just by listening to people who like blow my mind and really asking myself the questions: why does this sound so good? Like, why does this mix sound great?
Yeah. That's the thing, is like there's more music out there than you could ever listen to in your lifetime. So there's so much to learn from. Like, it's literally just a textbook of all this music that's out there, and that goes for everything. That goes for mixing, that goes for songwriting, that goes for, I learned everything I know on guitar just from being a fan of John Mayer and playing all of his songs in my room. And that's how I learned guitar. Like, I didn't have teachers or anything. I just was a fan of this music and wanted to learn how to play it. And I think just, by being a fan and listening to music and learning from artists, you end up being your own version of all those people. And that for me is like the most purpose I think I could have in my life, is doing that.
Wow, mic drop.
Yeah, unintentional, but music is very important to me, and it is like it's the undercurrent of everything I do in my life. So I owe a lot to it.
I also agree. I think that creating music is the thing that's given to me such a feeling of, or like self-expression has never been like for me better encompassed in music. And I've really only noticed that in the last few years of my life. There's something special about creating music, especially like you, in your own bedroom, in your own space, where everything comes from you, and there's not that there's anything wrong with working with other people or singing someone else's song that they wrote. But to me, just like, especially hearing someone who has had a hand in all of the parts of it, you just get so much personality. And when you resonate with something that somebody else has made and it really like hits you, it can just change the way you look at life, because you realize somebody else feels the same way and someone else is in the same position, and it kind of just makes the world a little bit smaller in a good way.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, like, at the core of it, you could look at, I always use Billie Eilish as an example, because she's, I think, one of the biggest artists in the world. At the end of the day, when she sits in her room and writes a song, it's exactly the same as us sitting in a room and writing a song. It's just amplified a million times on the back end of it. But I genuinely think any one of us songwriters could sit down and have a conversation with her, and we have so many similar experiences because we're all doing the same thing. It's just a matter of how our brain processes it. And yeah, I think probably even more than just a songwriter thing, on just a human level, you go through so many experiences in trying to make art that you can relate to people on. I mean, I think it's made me like 100 times more empathetic and more understanding and more forgiving, because you beat yourself up when you're trying to write songs and you realize that everyone does that in every aspect of their life because they're trying to do something well. And I think that we all have that in common, probably.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I feel like I've noticed since finding something of my own that I feel extremely passionate about, it kind of changes the way you look at other people. And if you like, and that's, not to take a negative turn, but like it's frustrating for me when I see people who don't have something that really like lights their fire, and that's okay if they don't, but
Yeah.
to me, like, it's just not something I understand. And even if not everybody has it and they're looking for it and they just can't quite find it yet, but just that passion, I feel like is so important, and it when you have it for something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really does come down to like purpose in life and what are you, I spend most of my waking hours thinking about music, even if I'm not doing it. So I can't really picture my life not doing that. And yeah, I do feel bad if people feel like they don't have a purpose. And I think that's something I've noticed I have a relatively young fan base, like probably anywhere from like late middle school to high school and college. And I think that's what a lot of them experience, is just those years of your life, like you don't know what your purpose is. And it's not to say I've even found my purpose for sure. I think right now it's the purpose for me. But I think a lot of what people go through in those hard years of like middle school, high school, and college is you're just blindly going through life trying to figure out why you're here and what you're doing. So I feel lucky that I found something, but I totally empathize with the people who are still trying to figure it out. And it's really hard. Like I feel for them every day.
Yeah, I think when you do find something that really, ignites that passion, it inside, you don't have
Hmm.
to explain it really. Like there's no use trying to explain it to somebody either. And
Yeah.
I think, it's a hard balance of keeping stuff like that to yourself and also wanting to share it when it gets to a point where maybe you're not surrounded by people who you think will understand it exactly.
Yeah.
And that can be a hard thing to deal with if you don't feel like you're around people who support you in a creative way, or, they don't have to quite understand what you're doing to at least give you, love and support. And if you don't have that, I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to get to the point where you are comfortable with releasing music or releasing anything that is, so personal to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I think it's a cultural thing potentially, because I think our culture in the United States is so focused on like productivity and success and whatever all those things really mean. And like there's days where I'm like, if I recorded one vocal line or wrote, like one lyric or did anything, like that should be enough for a day, but we have such a focus on like, putting out a song a month is a huge thing in the music industry, that they say that like that's how you break, is you have to be putting out a song every month. um, I just don't think that's realistic, like especially for people who are trying to start out. There's people with like entire teams that are on labels that can't even put out a song a month, because it's such a process to have an idea and then make it and do all of this stuff. So I think we just focus too much on trying to be overproductive, and I don't think that's necessarily the best art, anyways. I don't remember where we even started on this, but
I don't
I feel like I'm
either.
off on a tangent at this point.
No, man, that's what I love about this show, is being able to talk with artists like you,
Hmm.
and be able to go on our own tangents without, worrying about oh, like I have a very general formula. Like it's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
talk about whatever we want for 30 minutes and then move on to the last 5. But,
Yeah.
you know, that's what I like, being able to go down these tangents, because I think these are conversations that aren't exactly aired on YouTube or, you know, any kind of streaming platform. You know, this is stuff I wanted to see, you know,
Yeah,
local
totally.
indie artists
Totally.
talking about their process, and me being like, oh, whoa, like I do shit in my bedroom too. This guy does it and look what he made. Like, kind of just breaks those walls a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I think to this point, I'm sure this kind of throws off the flow, but I think you do a really good job of leaving it super open-ended because I mean, if you're just asking me generic questions, I would just be giving you generic answers, and I think if you just let it flow, like I think we're finding a really interesting spot to talk about that, like you said, people don't necessarily always get into in these types of podcasts. So credit to you.
well, well, thank you. That kind of goes back to being a fan of artists, like you said
Yeah.
earlier, before you reach out to want to collaborate. Like, I don't reach out to people on, you know, whose music I don't like, to have them on the
Yeah.
show just because maybe they have however many followers and streams, and maybe they'll definitely really publicize it. It's like,
Yeah.
if all that is true and I don't like their music, I'm gonna have a really hard time being genuine in an interview. So that's like the baseline first thing that I have to have, is a genuine appreciation for the person's I'm interviewing, their music, you know.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's a perfect transition over to the last 5 here, where I'm just going to ask you 5 quick questions and we'll be done.
Cool.
Okay. Number 1 is in the studio or playing live.
Um, I have to say, in the studio, playing live is something that I want to get more comfortable doing. But I think, again, like I talked about the fight or flight thing earlier, I think it just sparks that inside of me. So it's something that I haven't done enough to be comfortable with. And I don't know if people do fully get comfortable with it. That's kind of something that I'm still novice at, and I'm excited to do it, but I know it's going to come with a lot of anxiety and a lot of, you know, it's I like the studio. It feels more controlled. I think that's my answer.
I feel the same way. Absolutely. I've only done a couple live shows as a front man, and that's really
Yeah.
terrifying, you know, but
Yeah.
it is like a fight or flight experience.
hmm
Do
And I
you,
mean, I think there's a lot of reward in doing it.
yeah,
And it's something I want to do. Like the point of making music is to play it in front of people. Like I genuinely want to do that. It's just the body's natural reaction to it is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. This feels like the right idea. And
absolutely.
yeah.
So true. Well, question number 2 is, what do you think is a perfect album front to back?
Um. Hmm. Oh, I was listening to one recently. Jeremy Zucker's "Love Is Not Dying."
I haven't heard it. I know the name
It's
Jeremy
awesome.
Zucker.
Yeah, I normally my answer would be John Mayer or Continuum or something like that, but that I'm trying to grow a little bit, and Jeremy Zucker's album, cover to cover, is perfect. It's a perfect listening experience.
When did
I've
it come
listened to it
out?
multiple times. 2020, I think,
Oh,
like April-ish or something.
cool.
Yeah, it's I highly recommend it. He's more than just having a couple hits. He's definitely like a bona fide artist.
Huh. Because I know that name and I couldn't tell you one song by him.
Yeah, he has a big song called "Come Through" that has
Okay.
like 500 million streams or something. But yeah, he's much deeper than that.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I'll definitely give it a listen. Good
Yeah, for
answer.
sure.
Question number 3 is, who's your dream artist or producer to work with?
Um, I think Alexander 23. Do you know who he is?
No, I don't
He's
think
cool.
so.
He's like an indie pop artist. I saw him maybe like 2 years ago now, and it changed my complete approach to music because he just played with an electric guitar and like a backing track basically, and he had the crowd wrapped around his finger. And I think to work with him, I feel like I've learned so much from him that to like get to work with him in a studio setting would be really cool.
Interesting.
So yeah, not the biggest artist by any means, but I think in my world he's one of the biggest artists, which is it's like it's different for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to go check him out. Alexander
Yeah,
23. I've never
yeah,
heard of him.
yeah. He's very cool. He writes good songs.
Nice. Question 4 is, what's on your musical rotation right now?
I've been not listening to a ton of music, to be completely honest, because most times when I listen to music, it's either when I'm like driving or, I don't know. Like I don't listen to a ton, but my favorite artists as of late have been like Dominic Fike, Role Model, Jeremy Zucker again, Cautious Clay, Dizzy is a really cool band too. I listen to those artists kind of pop up the most in my shuffle, and they're the bands that I just love.
Nice. Dominic Fike is great. He's been making huge waves. I think he's got a
Huge
song
fan of
with
his.
Remy Moore or
Remy Wolf. Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
who the hell's Remy Moore. Remy Wolf.
Is Demi Moore? Is that an actress?
Yeah, that's probably what I was thinking of.
Maybe.
Demi Moore.
But yeah, Remy Wolf. Yeah, she's cool. I saw her open for Cautious Clay.
Oh, well,
She was
that's really cool.
good live too. Yeah.
I feel like I know 1 or 2 songs by Cautious Clay, but I can't remember even what they are.
He's really cool too if you check him out. I don't know exactly what your taste in music is, but most of the people I've named are pretty easy listens, even if you're not into that exact genre.
Yeah, I at least know the names of most of them, but I don't know Dizzy. I don't think I know Dizzy.
Dizzy is not necessarily the biggest band, but they made a huge impact on me. I heard one of their songs in Starbucks like 3 years ago now and dove super deep into the band. Like they had a really good album called Baby Teeth. That is another great album cover to cover. And I've just been following them ever since. And yeah, I love them. They're this cool Canadian indie pop band.
Nice. Well, I'll have to listen to them too. That's what's great about doing these interviews. I get like 4 or 5 new people to check out when I'm done.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm setting you up well. I think these are all...
I think you are.
They all go the distance, yeah.
Well, the last question here is a little tailored to you. What to you is a home studio essential?
Gosh, I would say a liquid of some sort, like either tea or trying to drink more water, or anything that's like sugary. I do well with sugar. Like that's my vice kind of in my day-to-day life. So if I can have something like, I don't know, Sour Patch Kids or something that help me just keep that momentum going. I think it's usually something to snack on. That's my studio essential.
That's so funny. I thought you were gonna be like this rack mount compressor.
I probably totally misunderstood the question.
No, I love it. See, that's the thing. It's these questions you can answer any way you want, and it's just that's how you feel. Like, I agree. Sour Patch Kids are a move. Colin from Comfort Club, thank you for joining me for an episode of On That Note. Everybody needs to go check out your new song, Okay on My Own, which came out on Valentine's Day. Perfect vibe. Thank you again for coming on and talking about your process, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Just last plug is like my Instagram is Comfort Club, Twitter is Comfy Club Music, and my website is comfortclubmusic.com if you want to find me on the interweb.
Everybody hit him up. Awesome. Well, Comfort Club, thank you again one more time. I appreciate it, and have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Talk to you later.
Peace.
Could have 100 options and I'd still pick her.
Thank you again for joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and you can even leave a comment down below to let me know who you're listening to. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.
To tell her that there ain't nobody like